Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Chelsea. You know that, I know that, and I'm just a lady with a bulldog, a camera, and too many opinions. That bulldog is snoring very loud, so I do apologize. If you're new here, I'm apologizing to you. If you've been here, you already know, and you appreciate the sounds of Wiggum's snores. My bulldog's name is Wiggum. Here's a picture of him. He's perfect. However, it's not your refrigerator, it's him. So today we are going to be covering an extremely problematic, fundy family. A family that continuously produces children who are, in my opinion, medically neglected, uneducated, and not being set up for success overall. This family spews medical misinformation, like promoting the free birth movement, no matter how dangerous it has been for them specifically in the past, and seems to find themselves in controversy after controversy. By now, you've probably guessed it, but we are talking about the Collins family today, also known as the Collins kids on social media. As always with any of my videos, everything I say in this video is my own opinion. This is not an attack on anyone. I am simply presenting information that has been posted publicly to the internet and also presenting my opinion as well. You can make your own. Do not touch the poop. This is not an interactive experience. This is not a petting zoo. Do not interact with these people, harass them, or any entity, individual, business, whatever involved or associated with them as well. The Collins family is headed by parents Karissa and Mandrae, and they have 10 children. Karissa is currently expecting baby number 11. All of the children have A names. Anissa, 14 years old, born in 2009. Andre, 12 years old, born 2011. Aniston, 11 years old, born 2012. Angeli, also known as Lily, 10 years old, born 2013. Anderson, of course spelled with a Y instead of an O, also known as Andy, 8 years old, born in 2015. Angel, oh yeah, we had to stop B-roll for that one. 7 years old, born 2016. And Sir, 6 years old, born 2018. Anker, 4 years old, born 2019. Anthem, born 2021, and he's 3 years old. And Armor, born 2023, and he's 1 year old. During this time, she also had 3 miscarriages. Per an article written by The Sun, Karissa is pregnant with a boy and is due in August. I do just want to make it clear too, these sweet little baby angels are innocent, okay? If I'm going to judge someone for naming their kid a certain thing or sticking with a certain aesthetic, which we will get to that aesthetic later on, because that's wrong, girl. You're wrong for that. It has nothing to do with the kids. Listen, they can't help what they're named. No, it's the mom. And I understand that times change, okay? I mean, think about it. Back in the day, for us millennials, everyone's name was Brittany or Lindsay, or there were a bunch of Chelseas. There were a bunch of Anthonys or Michaels or Nicholas, and right? And then with boomer ages, there's, well, our parents typically, there's Lindas and Janices. And, you know, you're not seeing Lindas and Janices and Sharons and Karens and Patricias, right? Every generation goes through something different. My grandma was Jane. That's not a crazy name. I get it. But then like her best friend's name was Dot or Florence, Agnes, all these old lady names, right? And so of course, like I said, with every generation, we get, you know, names that are maybe a little bit different. Times change, and I get it. You know, my kid has a name that it is a family name, but no one else in his class is probably going to have that name. I've only known of one other person with that name, 2 other, and it's unique, but he can at least spell it, and everyone else can spell it too, right? He's never going to find his name on a keychain at an airport, that's for sure. Neither are these kids. So that's sad. Also, who cares? It's harmless, but also you're just doing the most for no reason. So why do they have 1 billion children? Why? What are you doing? And also, why so close together? Why do you not stop? Similar to seemingly all of the fundamentalist, also known as fundy, families, influencers, individuals who we've covered on my channel and other people have covered across the internet, many times they are of the belief that you need to have as many children as you can in order to create more Christians. And this is what's known as quiverful Christian theology. The Duggars, the Girl Defined family, there's quite a lot of them. The quiverful movement derives its name from Psalm 12:7, which considers children to be a heritage from the Lord and compares them to arrows in a quiver with which believers may face their enemies. Quiverful members are evangelical Christians who abstain from all forms of birth control as interference with God's divine message. In simple terms, Karissa and others like her believe that God wants her to abstain from any form of birth control and to have as many children as humanly possible, as each child is a blessing from God. Now, there's a lot more more there that I want to talk about. And actually, there's a little tie-in to this one documentary that I watched on Netflix that was so good and crazy and creepy. It's like the quiverful ideology it's as if it's a cult within the Christian fundamentalist cult of itself. It's wild. And yes, of course, you can be a Christian. You can talk to Jesus. You can talk to God. You can talk to whoever you want and not be in a cult. But I still know there's going to be people in my comments actually being like, why do you hate Christians? Girl, I love God. I do. Also love vagina. Repent. Anyways, but before we get into all of that and more about the quiverful of it all, let's talk about how we got into this fucked up reality, okay? Who is Karissa Collins and why is she crazy? In my opinion, and the opinion of many others, Karissa Collins is a plague on the internet landscape of today. And you can have a different opinion, that's fine. But from everything that I've seen, truly do think that she is deeply delusional, a hate-spewing, unreliable narrator. And in my opinion, I do think that she is suffering from spiritual psychosis. I'm not a medical professional at all. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not anything like that. I don't even play one on TV or on YouTube. I mean, sometimes, but I don't. It's just of my unprofessional, unsolicited opinion. And I do think that she regularly posts pictures and videos of her whitewashed children dancing to Christian music, all while spouting dangerous medical misinformation, and that she's cherry-picked fundamentalist religious beliefs and multi-level marketing content, because why not? But the question is, was she always like this? It appears that the answer is no, she wasn't always like this. From the outside looking in, Karissa's childhood appeared relatively normal. She was born in 1983 to evangelical parents. Karissa's parents added another daughter to their family a year and a half later, and the family can be seen in several pictures. And by all accounts, the family looked happy. Per a Reddit user, Karissa reported having a very close relationship with her grandmother, who was very religious. The two remained very close throughout Karissa's childhood and early adulthood. Her grandmother was able to meet Karissa and Mandrae's first 4 children before passing away. Karissa took this loss very hard, and we're going to get more into that in a moment. Let's go back to Karissa's childhood. While her parents were evangelical Christians, it is said that her parents did not follow the fundamental Christian beliefs, such as free birthing, all the medical misinformation, and those quiverful beliefs as well of having 47 children. So needless to say, Karissa's childhood was a lot different than her own children's childhood. Instead of forcing her children to dance outside in a TikTok video all about how abortion is an evil sin, Karissa's dad focused on teaching Karissa and her sister all about basketball, and he was even their basketball coach for a couple of years. Now, Karissa excelled at basketball. She played in high school, and then she continued to play after high school when she went to a small Bible college. So when did Karissa start to change? So cringe. This part kills me. This is probably my favorite part. Karissa described herself as someone who has always had a love for hip hop and dark skin, but she said that she was disappointed that she had no influence for Christ, meaning she wasn't able to like witness to people, which is just, why do you, I don't know. That whole aspect of it is just so strange. Why can't you be like the Jews? They don't want you to join. I love that for them. So what was Karissa's solution, you might ask? Well, she said that she went to the club, but only so that she could witness to others. And much to no one's surprise, Karissa was unsuccessful in converting guys on the dance floor to Christianity. Can you imagine what this was like? Hey, so you hear the good word? Did you hear the good word? You like Jesus? He likes you. You're never going to get that reenactment of me in a club trying to convert someone to Christianity out of your head. And I'm not mad about it. I'm not sorry either. So you would think that if someone was not able to convert people to Christianity, and that was their sole purpose for going clubbing, going to the club, as 50 Cent would say, as our good friend Curtis Jackson would say, you'd think she'd stop going, right? No, she kept going because in her words, she loved the attention. And listen, when you're single and young and hot, yeah, get it, okay? Get it. Listen, girl, those bodycon BB dresses and like 5-inch heels with your hair like in like a bump, little like bump thing and like a smoky eye that's way too much, and cream cup by MAC lipstick, girl, you better bet there were some sparkles on this cleavage. Yeah, get it. Get that attention, babe. One thing that is kind of heartbreaking that Karissa decided to share for some reason is that during her mission trips to the club, she gave her number to every single man that she danced with, and never, no one, not a single one ever called her. That's sad. It's probably because you're talking to them about Jesus in the club. Probably shouldn't do that. Well, one day her luck changed, and that was when a young man named Mandrae called her and asked her about the church that she was going to. I guess bumping and grinding and talking about the good word got to him. So she was super excited and boned up and decided that they had to meet again and go on another date. And as all star-crossed lovers do, they went to Walmart for their first date. And their Walmart hang went so well that she invited him to go back to her Bible college campus with her, and they spent the rest of the day together. By the end of the day, she was telling her friends that she was going to marry him. Super, super romantic story. Mandrae was born 1983, and he was raised by what appears to be a loving family in Denison, Texas. He was also a very talented basketball player and ended up playing at the collegiate level at Sterling College. While there, he earned a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. Just like with Karissa, Mandrae was quite religious, but he did not hold those fundamental Christian beliefs. According to Karissa, even though she told her friends that she'd met the man she was going to marry after the first date at Walmart, it apparently took Mandrae, in Karissa's own words, a few months to convince her to date him. Karissa, being the doting girlfriend that she was, attended all of his basketball games. Mandrae, on the other hand, never attended a single one of Karissa's basketball games. He did apparently attend one of her volleyball games, and she ended up breaking her fingers. I might be a little bit witchy, but that seems like a red flag. That's some type of omen. That's a bad omen. What do y'all think? You better comment down below. Would that have been a red flag for you that he never went to any of them, even if he was able to? He just didn't go. And now, similar to many young couples, Karissa and Mandrae did have a good bit of ups and downs during their courtship. And they did break up, reconcile over the 2 years that they were dating. But after 2 years, they decided to get married. Now, this magical day took place in 2007. Karissa was 23 years old. To celebrate the occasion, and hey, it's okay if we have differing opinions. I think this little aspect's cute, but they served 23 different flavors of ice cream. I think that's adorable. One thing I don't think is adorable is that as wedding favors, they gave out Bibles. Listen, maybe I'm just cynical. Maybe I'm just a bitch, but like, a Bible? That's weird. I guess maybe if you are someone who is like very religious, realistically, most of the people who are going to your wedding are also going to be very religious, I would think. These don't really seem like the people that would not live in an echo chamber. I've been to quite religious weddings. I've also been to ones where like there's no religion involved. We got a mixed bag over here, but that's not what happens when you're in a cult within a cult within a cult, topping out your own cult. Leave in the comments below. Again, I know I'm asking too many questions. What is the best, like some aspects of the best wedding you've ever been to? I'd like to know, because it's about to get real dark, so let's make it a little bit light at first. After getting married, Karissa and Mandrae both worked in finance. Karissa says that she worked in collections. Karissa started blogging about their relationship and their life soon after getting married. She claims that Mandrae wanted to wait a year and a half to start having kids because he wanted to have a substantial amount of money saved up before having a baby. And that's completely understandable, especially not only, wanting to have more money saved up, but, they're young. They're 20. She's 23 when they got married, and that's fine. But you ain't really going to have money at 23. Don't let the girl bosses lie to you. That's not going to happen. Unless you're like a trust fund baby, but no. Karissa says that she got upset that they waited so long and eventually confronted Mandrae and told him that God told her that they needed to trust their family size to God and stop using birth control. You can feel pushed in a certain direction. You can feel called to something. You can feel like you have to do something. You can talk to God, but if someone is talking back to you, that is not spirituality. That is not divine intervention. That is psychosis. Let's get more into that. When we hear people saying that they are speaking to God or God answering their prayers, it's usually meant in a very non-literal way. Like people will say that they pray to God and they might believe the outcome is, how God is answering their prayers by helping them through a rough time or something like that. Karissa literally believes that she and God speak, as in she says words out loud or thinks words in her head, and then God responds with his own words out loud or words that she can hear in her head. Again, that is hearing voices, and that is psychosis. Ma'am, I am not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, and I have absolutely no medical training, thank God. But like, what? These sounds like delusions. These sound like a possible mood disorder of some sort, somewhere on a spectrum of the psychosis, psychotic nature. I don't know. From this point forward, where we are in the timeline, Karissa will continue to hear God, and she going forward will refer to God as Yahweh, which isn't too strange. Or she'll just shorten it to their friendly pet name of Yah. And Yahweh would be referring to the name of the God of the Israelites. And she openly shares her conversations or the convictions that God has placed upon her heart on social media. After God tells Karissa to have all of the children because he said so, Karissa listened, of course, and convinced Mandrae, at least for the time being, to follow suit. I keep wanting to call him Mandrake, like the plant from Harry Potter. So if I do that at any point in this video, I sincerely apologize. I'm not trying to get his name wrong. I'm really not trying to do that, but I'm dumb. So, you know. Now, Karissa, who is perpetually pregnant, decided to quit her job to become a stay-at-home mom to all of their children. And that is completely understandable. I get that. You have a lot of children. And also, of course, I want to say being a stay-at-home mom is 1,000,000,000% work. Karissa is a content creator. She is creating content. She is working. So she's just a work-from-home mom now. Either way, even if you don't have a job and you are a stay-at-home mom, not creating content, not doing anything like that, that's work, babe. Especially with the 47 children they have. Even if you have one kid, that's a lot. Now, while Karissa was pregnant with her 5th child, that's when her grandmother, who she was extremely close to, passed away. And her grandmother was the one who was extremely religious and had a big part in Karissa's life. And we brought this up at the beginning of the video, but Karissa took that loss very, very hard. And now, of course, just to give the disclaimer again, I am not a professional in any sense of anything, including a medical professional. So this is my non-medical, non-professional opinion. However, many types of mental illnesses, such as ones that are of the psychosis spectrum, schizophrenia, things like that, do manifest typically with women when they are in their mid-20s, and it can be triggered by a traumatic event that happens to you. Per a Reddit user, this information and timeline matches up perfectly when Karissa became extremely stringent in her religious beliefs. And maybe that's a coincidence, maybe it's not, maybe I'm completely wrong. That's okay, but let me know what you think. And one thing that I do want to make clear in this video as well, with Karissa's very fundamentalist beliefs, Mandrae is her headship. He is the head of the household. With these types of families, there's God, and then the husband, the head of the household, and then the wife, and then all the children under the wife. Mandrae is Karissa's, as they call it, headship, head of the household, head of the family. Karissa submits to her husband. Karissa would not be allowed to share anything online that Mandrae did not co-sign or at least sign off on or know about. And in my opinion, and I'm saying this for this specific reason, but in my opinion, Mandrae is very much aware of every single thing that she's posting for the aforementioned reasons. But more so than that, he's also to blame for all of these shenanigans, all of this chaos, and all of the medical misinformation that she's posting, and everything dangerous that she's posting, and everything dangerous that she's posting on the internet. Now, you might think, wow, someone who, now I don't know if you've had a kid. If you have, I mean, you probably know something about prenatal care, postnatal care, postpartum, what happens when you go in, right? I mean, I feel like for my second one, if we are blessed enough to have a second kid, that like, I got this. I'm gonna push that baby out even faster. I'm also gonna give myself raging hemorrhoids again. But you know, more well equipped, you know what to do. And I think that's why we, as people who have already done it, sometimes can scare others, because like we try to tell you like, oh, this is what I didn't know. Like, I wish I would have done this. Not good to scare people. Maybe just, you know, don't say anything unless they ask you. Maybe. But even after just having one kid, I would like to think that I had my birth experience, my pregnancy was miserable, safe, fine, but awful. Ugh. However, my birth story, dear God, shit was magical. It was amazing. I loved it so much. I would give birth 1 billion more times. That's crazy, Chelsea. Why would you say that? Stop. Don't do it. I'm finally feeling okay. Anyways, me and Karissa are not the same, clearly. But you would think that someone who has had this many children would, at this point in the timeline, would know something about all of this and be a little bit educated just from personal experience, and having done it so many times and being pregnant for literally 6 years, 7 years at this point. As you can tell by my dude saying this, no, she does. As the icon himself, Bob Barker, famously said, the price is wrong. So as it turns out, Karissa has had ongoing little chit chats, little powwows with God about the best ways to care for herself and her baby in utero, as well as caring for them both post giving birth. She also received guidance from God on all aspects of life, on all aspects of health and wellness. So let's go over a bit of that. Karissa's guidance from God: no prenatal care. Karissa advises pregnant people not to go to the doctor during their pregnancy. What? So no ultrasounds, no glucose tests, no genetic testing, just really winging it. Free birthing. Karissa practices free birthing or unassisted birth, in which she gives birth at home without any medical professionals or midwives present. She also tells her audience that they don't need a midwife because pregnant bodies, quote, know what to do. That's not always the case. Karissa also fancies herself a birthing party, which is where you invite all of your friends over to watch you give birth. You have to tell everyone there that no one is to intervene if anything goes wrong. That is not only traumatic, that's weird in my opinion, but to not have a medical professional there is wild and so dangerous. Obviously, this is medical misinformation. You should no promoting that and telling people to do that. It's just so wild to me specifically, not to talk about myself, sorry, but we could not be more different. When we got admitted, I mean, I was super chill. My water broke at 9 p.m. and I was like, all right, babe, it's happening. I was like, my contractions aren't really hurting though at all. I was like, so you go to sleep, I'll go to sleep, and then we'll wake up when they hurt real bad. So then 4 a.m. I was like, all right, go get in the shower. Let's let out the dog. Let's tell our neighbor. Let's get our bag. Let's go. So yeah, and then we got there and I told the nurse, I was like, all right, Pitocin and an epidural right away, babe. Let's do it. That was at 5 a.m. Started pushing at 4:30 something or 5 p.m. I think, and then pushed that baby out within 25 minutes. It was pretty fabulous. I loved it. It was great. Not everyone's experience is like that. A lot of people in my family have had traumatic experiences, so I am very blessed. I know that. Anyways, did you know that home birth, let me rephrase that, free births can be less than $50? Did you know that? Well, let's go ahead and watch a video of Karissa going through her home birth box. It's the worst. Quick side note that me and my researcher both agree with. But is it just this? I know it's not just us, but is it just us, or does Karissa have like a super like flat effect? Like it doesn't seem like she's able to show a wide range of emotions. Like her face doesn't, maybe that's what I'm seeing in pictures with her. Like her face doesn't show that volume of like happiness, you know? It's the same facial expression for every single video. It's the same expression for every picture. Like it's weird. Side note ended, sorry. So back to Karissa and the free birth show and misinformation. As Karissa mentioned in her home birth box video, she invites over her friends and has them witness her giving birth. She allegedly has told her witnesses to not intervene if something goes wrong during the birth. In fact, she has plainly stated that if God decides that it's her time to die during childbirth, that's God's plan. How up is that? That's not how that works. No. And you can't use the excuse of like, oh, well, that's not how God intended it. Technology has been it has happened. I was about to say has been invented. Like the medical intervention is there. Like these it's there for a reason. And you can't be like, oh, well, that's not what God wants. Like that's too worldly. You're on TikTok. You can't just pick and choose. Like me saying you can't pick and choose what from the Bible to listen to. Meanwhile, I'm me. Anyways. So yeah, that's annoying. Why risk having a free birth at home and not just like a normal home birth where it is assisted and you do have everything in place? Why do that? To me, that's just selfish. It's just selfish for you to do that. You could easily have a person, a medical professional, and do a home birth the right way. Absolutely. But you know what? I feel like any midwife or person like that probably wouldn't do it. And they'd be like, no, you've had this many children and this many issues. You need to go to the hospital. Like you need to have a hospital birth, which in my opinion, I do think she needs to. It's crazy. But when you already have 1 million children at home, like why? What? No, bitch, you need to stay alive for those kids. What? Especially when like these things could just be easily addressed at the hospital by professionals, because you're not a professional. God is not your OBGYN. Neither is Jesus or Yahweh or Yah, whatever you want to call him. That is not Dr. Yah. In a comment on Instagram, someone asked Karissa, I have a question and I'm not attacking you. I want your opinion. If I almost died last time I had a baby, does God want me to forego family planning and potentially leave my kids motherless? Doesn't God give us knowledge so that we can make decisions to protect our families? Exactly. And she said, I have almost died a few times. I am posting a video about this soon. I would most def give my life to bring about more. You don't have to do that, though. That is so dumb and so selfish. You would give your life when you don't have to and leave all of your children motherless. That's bad. Insane. I'm, again, not a medical professional, but I'm pretty positive that every single one of the times that she has had a serious issue at home would not have happened if she would just go to a hospital. Speaking of God telling her what to do with birth, he's not. Just schizophrenia. That's a joke. Calm down. Listen, we got to make jokes about this type of stuff. Otherwise, it's so sad and I can't even go on talking about it, okay? These poor children. But this might be a good point to talk about how Karissa and God allegedly had a very interesting conversation where God told her to give birth at Target, just in the middle of the aisle. Just give birth there and do it. But she was pretty upset when that prophecy didn't happen. She was really mad. Back to the medical misinformation that God wants us to know. Sorry, Karissa wants us to know. Anti-vaccine. After giving birth, Karissa does not believe in vaccinating her children. She shared the following post on Instagram. I vaccinated my older kids. They were always sick. Allergies, asthma, viruses, ear infections. Now as adult, they all have autoimmune diseases. I began researching about 10 years ago. I stopped vaccinating when I learned the truth of what's in them. My vaxxed son got polio. Yes, you read that right. My younger children are never sick. I mean, never. My 5-year-old has never once been sick except for a tiny cold. He has never been on antibiotics. 0 vax. Could it be that you just think that they're never sick? Because how could you possibly keep track of 10 children? I don't know. Who knows? Not me. And also, where was this research? What was she looking at? My God. So I'm not skipping over it. Don't worry. I know when you heard me just read that, you were like, wait, what? Yeah, she said that her son who she got vaccinated got polio. So I have so many questions about the polio part because you don't just miraculously recover from that. And sure, there can be cases where it's just a fever, a cough, whatever. And then there's more serious cases where it's fatigue and stiffness and, muscle deterioration and looking like you're wasting away and vomiting and all that. And can be irreversible paralysis. It's absolutely terrifying. What? Why? I don't mean to laugh, I'm sorry, but why have we not heard more about this? And did she find out that he got polio from going to a doctor? Because she doesn't apparently take them to doctors. It's whenever the boss, I'm sure she probably deworms her kids too, but it's whenever the fundy scammer crunchy moms, that corner of the internet, will be oh, I'm doing a heavy metal detox cleanse on my kid, and look at all these worms that came out in their poop. But it's Janice, you just post about how your kid only eats vegan. So if you only eat your whatever MLM pyramid scheme scam products that you're shilling and only dirt and leaves, how are there worms in your butt? Is it from the dirt? I don't know. So what's also strange is that Karissa also claims that God told her to stop vaccinating her children. God broke her rib. Girl, you got to get out of that abusive relationship with God. You're better than that. When she was pregnant. And I have known of people getting bruised ribs and stuff when you're pregnant. It sucks. Or when you give birth. Yeah. But also there's no remedy for that. You just kind of got to sit around and wait for it to heal, which sucks. It's a sprained finger, a broken toe or something like that. And then she prayed to have that healed, which is girl, just wait for time to pass and it will heal. Unless it's puncturing a lung. Nothing you can do. So then she prayed to God, and God told her to stop vaccinating her children, and he will heal her broken rib. And she said, okay. And then immediately he took her pain away. So that is crazy. Speaking of poison, this is your reminder that you can't pray away your obedience. I spent years trying. I tried to pray away the conviction I had every time I injected my children with poison. One day, God broke my rib after my 7th baby was born, and I was praying for healing. He told me to stop poisoning my children. I agreed to never do it again and was immediately healed. And my kids have never been healthier. We can't pray for protection from something we are being told to stop doing. We simply are called to obedience, and we can't pray away due to confusion, fear, the unknown, and doubt. If you seek God, you will find him. He will give you the truth if you ask for it, day and night. just because you're unsure doesn't give you the excuse to choose wrongly. You are honored and hear his voice. The question is, how hard are you seeking it? I mean, I'm not hearing voices, Karissa, sorry. So she goes on to say that to her 1.5 million Instagram followers. Totally normal and disgusting and dangerous. So if you have medical questions, who should you discuss them with? Obviously a doctor, obviously a medical professional. Now that ability does come with privilege, clearly. But for the love of God, do not listen to these idiots on the internet, these fundamentalists who are crazy. Mandrae has a job at a luxury car dealership in the finance department. I think it's safe to assume that he either has health insurance for his family through his job, or he has the ability to provide health insurance for his family. Now, it's important to note that not all health insurance is created equal, and it can still cause massive financial strain to pay for medical care. But hear me out. If Karissa is able to purchase a new diaper bag every single month, as shared in a Q&A video with her and Mandrae, she could use that money to go to the doctor to discuss all of these concerns and doubts and everything. As far as fundy behavior goes, Karissa and her family live by the rules for thee, but not for me. Because believe it or not, Karissa and several of her children have been to the ER over the past few years, and suddenly the medical professionals were necessary. Let's also talk about parentification. Karissa believes that she should care for her body by taking a bath every single day. Now, I get you. I would love to do that as well. And I only have one kid. But this woman has 10. Per Karissa, she sits in the bathtub, soaking for hours upon hours. Multiple hours. That means at least 2, leaving her eldest daughter to care for her siblings. Karissa also makes sure that she gets lots of sleep. Sounds super healthy, right? Absolutely. But not when she sleeps until noon, once again, making her oldest daughter take care of and parent the other children. This is parentification. As defined by psychology today, parentification is when a child is forced to take on the role of a supportive adult within their family, no matter how old they are. Parentification is not asking your child to babysit their younger sibling. Parentification is demanding that a child take on the role of a parent or guardian and take care of their younger siblings on a regular basis, if not around the clock, and never expecting it to end, nor work to be financially rewarded. This was extremely relevant when Karissa told the world that her oldest daughter, Anissa, who is now 14 or 15 years old, begged to have her newborn sibling sleep in her room. One Reddit user said, if she's expecting to take care of the baby, she'll get more sleep if she doesn't have to go anywhere else to do it. That is so sad. Another Reddit user added some sarcasm and shared a photo and said, parentified daughters, the secret sauce to large families. This can mess you up psychologically as a child and really take away your childhood from you. Being given these responsibilities and not being able to just play with your siblings or hang out with friends and actually have a childhood is truly not okay. If you want to have multiple children, go for it. But you are the parent and you need to take care of them. It takes a village, absolutely, but your own children should not be seen as other elders in that village. Parentification has been very much so publicized by the Duggar family. In their show, a lot of people had questions on how the hell are you going to take care of this many children? And of course, they talked about the buddy system. Everyone has a buddy, and it's more so just every child is in charge of taking care of another child. This can also lead to siblings ending up resenting each other, which can be very damaging to their relationships when they're younger, but also their relationships with each other when they're older. Now let's discuss biblical fasting. Karissa believes in biblical fasting, even when she's pregnant. This includes food and water. In Karissa's Instagram post and stories, she claims that she fasted for 2.5 days, allegedly, while pregnant. It's also important to note that Karissa shared in a post that she, quote, had eating disorders and body dysmorphia, while spelling it wrong, in high school. And it seems like this is really just a recipe for disaster. Karissa, if you're watching this, please seek trained medical professionals to help you. Realistically, we know that Karissa will not go to a medical professional, especially for mental health hiccups, since she is of the belief that mental illness can be healed through prayer. She believes that you can heal PTSD, anxiety, depression, etc. through praying. She says, the key to overcoming PTSD, fear, anxiety, depression, anger, resentment, unforgiveness, discontentment, etc., is to meditate on his word, declare his promises, and sit in his presence. If that worked, doctors would tell their patients to go home and pray. If that worked, Karissa would not be delusional and have multiple near-death experiences, as well as her children. Medical schools would stop covering psychological health. There wouldn't be any need for psychiatrists, counselors, or anything like that. Obviously, prayer has a positive place in a lot of people's lives, including my own. In fact, per an article titled The Psychological Benefits of Prayer, What Science Says About the Mind-Soul Connection, written by Kristen Rogers, prayer has been hard to study, but the research we do have shows that prayer can reduce feelings of isolation, anxiety, and fear. It also stated that prayer can reduce anger and aggression. Rogers quotes Ryan Brenmer, an associate professor of psychology at the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota, who shared, prayer can foster a sense of connection, whether it's to a higher power, to what a person finds important in life or their views, and rituals in general serve a calming function. They distract the mind, which might otherwise go down one of those rabbit holes of useless worry, and they give a sense of influence or control over something that may not be ultimately controllable. During an Ask Me Anything Q&A on her Instagram, someone asked Karissa Collins if she thinks that God can heal autism, and her answer was, of course. As someone who has been diagnosed with autism, it does not need to be cured at all. Autism is not an illness. It is not a broken leg that needs an x-ray or to be put in a cast. But according to Karissa, prayer can heal all of that, just like it healed her ribs. One Reddit user worded this beautifully. The only thing I need God to heal about mine and my son's autism is the way other people react to it. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that a lot of times I do cover scammers, unethical influencers, and just craziness like this as a whole. And obviously that does include MLM scammers and their wild medical claims as well. And this entire section about how she thinks that God can cure autism is giving big my MLM product can cure autism energy, which we have covered a lot of those in videos. To bring this full circle, Karissa talks to God. God tells her medical misinformation. Karissa, in turn, shares said medical information online to her 1.5 million followers. Someone online takes note of Karissa's massive follower account, bamboozles Karissa with a pitch to join the multi-level marketing company Plexus. And now Karissa not only spreads God's medical information, she also spreads misinformation provided to her by her upline and people at Plexus's head office. Here are a few examples of her two worlds of medical misinformation and girl boss hustle babing herself to death colliding. Plexus cured this woman's infertility, allegedly. Couldn't get pregnant, and now she has, looks like 7 kids. And then she says, Plexus is clean and safe to take.
Like, it is worth it, especially in the environment we live in like the fake meat world, and where you just really can't trust the food that you eat. I know there are people out there that say it's not a clean product, but I have researched it and I strongly believe that they are clean, that they are healthy, and they definitely help. Also, I never have done the income business side of it. I've always just, like everyone says, it's a pyramid scheme. Guys, it's okay to be a stay-at-home mom, to sell things, and to make money. The Proverbs 31 woman, she made money. She stayed home and she invested her money in land. So please don't let all these people come at you and say, how dare you make money? How dare you sell something? It is not unbiblical for a woman to make money. And you can do it from your home while you're being a mother.
She said she researched it and that you should believe her. Not only should we not believe, in my opinion, anything that Karissa says, but again, just like with the vaccination misinformation she was sharing, I would love to know where she was getting all of this information and what she was doing to research. What are your sources? But of course, she never sources anything. Another example is that she was drinking Plexus while pregnant, and she was saying that it was totally safe. It's disgusting. She posted here saying 23 weeks pregnant with baby number 11, third Plexus pregnancy, first slim drink pregnancy, aka game changer. Feeling amazing, forgetting I'm pregnant, no swelling or inflammation, no cravings, regular, hormones balanced, plus extra income. Your hormones are not balanced while you are pregnant. Your hormones are completely out of control while you're pregnant. That's how that works. They are raging. Also, how would you even know about your hormone levels because you don't go to the doctor ever? And sharing things like this is just so obnoxious. And as someone who was very honest about how much pregnancy absolutely blows, you're constantly sweaty. I have a short torso, so I could hardly breathe. This baby was running out of room. I was craving all the weird stuff, couldn't poop, super anemic, crying constantly, always out of breath, hemorrhoids, farting way too much. And if I was seeing this, I'm fine and know this person's crazy. But if I didn't know this person was crazy, I would feel very sad and inadequate. And most women, when they're pregnant, already feel like that. So this is disgusting that she's posting this. And just in case the worst crossover of all time, meaning a fundy and a multi-level marketing company and having a billion kids and sharing medical misinformation isn't already worse, it can get worse, don't worry, because apparently Karissa Collins, since joining Plexus, has been collaborating with Jill Rodrigues, who is also in Plexus, but is also a fundamentalist and truly just a favorite on the Fundy Snark Reddit page. Jill is out of control. They're basically the Duggars 2.0, so cringe, so many long skirts. Pictures that she posts on Facebook are, the way she edits them are terrifying. They also say that God can heal multiple sclerosis, which is MS. Karissa claims to have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and that God healed her from it. Online people have speculated that she never actually got a diagnosis for MS or that her constant state of pregnancy has kept her MS symptoms at bay. Now, there have been accounts of people who have either autoimmune disease or immune deficiency, something like that, or even illnesses like multiple sclerosis, even cancer, where when they are pregnant, they feel amazing. There's times where this has happened where people with lupus feel amazing when they're pregnant, and it's because of all the extra hormones and everything. And then I know someone very close to me who has dermatomyositis, which is a very rare autoimmune disease, and they feel freaking incredible when they are pregnant. Could not be me. Now, again, how in the hell would Karissa get a diagnosis when she does not go to the doctor? Karissa Collins, like Sarah Titus, who really was the first fundy that we went over in this Finding Fundies series of sorts. If you haven't watched that video, please go watch it. It's terrifying. Just like Sarah Titus, though, Karissa is a notoriously unreliable narrator, and it's difficult to weed through her lies, possible delusions, and general ignorance in order to get a clear picture of what is going on with her health. But one thing is clear, if God or anyone could cure multiple sclerosis, we would already know about that. Doctors would be shouting this cure from rooftops, and insurance companies would be exploiting the hell out of it and making it very expensive. But they're not, because it's not real. One of her posts says, when we had 2 and 3 children, I was very sick. From a hole in my heart to surgery to doctor appointments to blacking out several times a day, I was sick and eventually diagnosed with MS. Then after my 4th child, I had a scary near-death miscarriage. I had a choice to live in my ability and wisdom or to trust God. Despite what we are taught, faith is wisdom. If I would have let MS take my faith, if I would have let a miscarriage take my faith, if I would have let a man's opinion take my faith, if I would have let pregnancy sickness take my faith, if I would have let our feelings take my faith, good God, this is going on forever. And if I would have let our finances take my faith, if you stop having children, if you can't afford it at this point, like, come on. If I would have let my plans take my faith, oh my God, this goes on forever. Okay, persecution and then fear, and then I would be missing out on so many blessings. Moral of the story, nothing can take your faith unless you allow it. That's insane. Disgusting. And in their kitchen, I assume, this is probably in their kitchen. This looks like a kitchen type of thing. They have I was about to call it a framed piece of glass. Girl, that's a window. They have a framed piece of glass, and they have written on it, the Collins family monument to Yahweh. My mouth will tell you of your righteous, whatever. Okay, so Jesus, this is a list of all the things Jesus healed, or Yahweh, whoever it is. And it says Andre's healed broken hand. And then another kid's name, life, 40 days in the NICU, Anthem's home birth, someone's supernatural birth. What does that mean? Was there a witch involved? Does your kid have special powers? What does that mean? Ankles. Oh my God. Her next kid's name is going to be Ankle. Anker's healed broken leg. Did he have a cast? Like, what is happening? Home church Unity after fasting. Don't know what that means. Broken rib healing vaccine revelation. Anker's, oh God, we don't need to know about your kids' genitals. Hospital healing, vaccine protection, answers development, Anker's birth weight, and then healing in my womb. CPS quick resolutions. Well, they should probably come back. Provision after job loss, unity on trusting God with family size, osis. I don't know what that is. Postpartum depression, God giving our children names. No, he didn't sign the birth certificate. Karissa, you signed the names. Social media ministry and many saved babies. Okay, so I'm assuming she's saying having people not get abortions or something. Social media growth / influence, home flip, provision and faithfulness in home business. Gross. So faith manipulation within their multi-level marketing company. Perfect and on-time home / van. Postpartum depression healing. Girl, that's Zoloft, not God. Bringing us together at the club. Continued protection and health throughout Schmovid. Healing in miscarriage. Healed of MS. Anthem's healing. Karissa healed lumps. Wonderful. Angels healed UTI. Karissa healed UTI. Healed from poison ivy, a healed broken wrist, Armor's birth, Armor healing in NICU. That was the doctor's, Karissa, not God. God is not an ICU, a NICU nurse. Karissa admits that she doesn't think it's biblically sound to get the RhoGAM shot and urges her followers to get medical information from a Facebook group called RhoGAM. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, sorry. Rebellion. She posted a screenshot of that Facebook group and said, I'm getting a bunch of messages asking me about the RhoGAM shot. And so I thought I would share this group, and it has a ton of information on it with you guys. Personally, I don't believe that it is biblically sound to get, but if you want medical information, here is the group, I guess. Again, if you have medical questions, talk to your doctor. If you don't like what they said, go get a second opinion. Do not consult with some random Facebook group. Second of all, let's drop a little scientifically backed knowledge per the Columbia University Irving Medical Center. Again, sorry, probably pronouncing it wrong. RhoGAM is a drug developed in the 1960s by Columbia University physicians. It prevents one of the most severe and devastating diseases affecting fetuses and newborn babies and is still in use today. Third of all, do we want more science? Yes, of course we do. So here we go. Per the American College of Nurse Midwives, RhoGAM is a medicine that stops your blood from making antibodies that attack Rh-positive blood cells. RhoGAM is a sterilized solution made from human blood that contains a very small amount of Rh-positive proteins. These proteins keep your immune system from making permanent antibodies to Rh-positive blood. They do not harm your baby. RhoGAM is given as an injection, a shot. Like any medication, injection, or medical treatment, there are always potential risks and side effects. Obviously, correlation does not equal causation. That is why you should go talk to your doctor, person with the medical degree, in order to get all of this information necessary before making your decision. While we're on the topic of pregnancy, did you know that according to Karissa Collins, you should never, ever, ever prevent pregnancy, even if you might die from it, because God will take care of you and only close off your womb once he decides to do so. Someone asked on one of her posts, I have a question. Let's throw it back to the post that we already read, shall we? Someone said, I have a question. I am not attacking you. I want your opinion. I almost died last time I had a baby. Does God want me to forego family planning and potentially leave my kids motherless? Doesn't God give us knowledge so that we can make decisions to protect our families? And Karissa Collins said, I have almost died a few times. I am posting a video about this very soon. I would most definitely give my life to bring about more. That is unhinged. And then during another unhinged Q&A, it's just the gift that keeps on giving at this point. And by gift, I mean plague. Someone asked, when is it okay to stop having kids in regards to severe health issues, like having several C-sections? And she says, I believe that only God knows that, and we should trust him to close our wombs in his timing. I know several women that have had 11 C-sections, and their bodies are great. I feel like that's not true. That is extremely harmful for the woman's body. Again, if you have any medical questions or are concerned about medical conditions like pregnancy, talk to your doctor. Do not take medical advice from some random stranger, much less an influencer on the internet who has no qualifications to talk about any of this, especially some random stranger who claims that she can literally hear God speaking to her, because in my opinion, that sounds like delusion, not a medical professional. By now, I think you understand that Karissa Collins spreads medical misinformation all across the internet, wider than I be spreading these legs after 2 espresso martinis with my husband on date night. Much like the Mariana Trench, Karissa has a deep history, but instead of finding a sea devil or an anglerfish, you'll find a plethora of controversies, neglectful behavior, some of which do include medical misinformation. And obviously, most of this video focuses on Karissa, but like I said before, Mandrae is also, in my opinion, guilty of co-signing all of her crappy behavior and the horrible treatment of these children. Now, there's no way that we could go over all of them, or we would be here for literal days. So let's go over some of her worst offenses. One of the most egregious offenses is the saga in which Karissa and Mandrae Collins almost let their daughter Anthem die twice. Karissa started her testimony of the second incident in a video, and if this doesn't prove that she's dangerous, I'm not sure what will. First, a quick trigger warning. The following screenshot is of Anthem in a hospital bed. Her face is blurred out, but she has an IV hooked up and she's hooked up to multiple tubes. And if it's not something you want to see, just skip ahead, let's say 5 seconds. Let's say 10 seconds. Per Karissa, Anthem went from having a slight fever to slouching in the bathtub with little to no neck control. But the next morning, Anthem allegedly woke up smiling without any noticeable issues. However, all of that changed when the family went to a basketball game where Karissa observed Anthem lose control of all of her muscles. Anthem reportedly could not hold up her own head and couldn't use her legs, and her face drooped. Karissa thought, well, that's weird, but instead of calling 911 or rushing her child to the emergency room, Karissa and her family went out to lunch. You heard that correctly. She went out to lunch. Her child couldn't hold up her head, couldn't use her legs, and her face was drooping, but Karissa decided to go out to lunch and bring Anthem along. Luckily, Karissa's mother was there and was observing her granddaughter's condition, and she, allegedly, forced Karissa to bring Anthem to a doctor. Per Karissa, she brought Anthem to urgent care where the doctors blamed Anthem's sickness on Karissa not vaccinating her child. I'll take things that never happened. 800, Alex. I believe that this is when Anthem was then transferred from the emergency room and admitted directly into the hospital, where she received a spinal tap, which is when Karissa stated it was the worst experience of her life, as in Karissa's life, not Anthem's life, who was at the risk of dying because Karissa didn't want her sick child to be seen by a doctor. Anthem passed out while being evaluated and received oxygen. Karissa claims that no one told her what was going on, but that Anthem, in addition to being hooked up to oxygen, was also given a neck brace and 3 IVs. Karissa finally found out that Anthem had a severe UTI and the infection spread to the rest of her body. Mandrae finally joined Karissa and Anthem once he finished coaching a volleyball game, because obviously your child being in the emergency room, being in the hospital, is nothing to cancel a game over. Apparently, the nurses were rude to Karissa, but nicer to Mandrae, which led the Collins parents to finally being told what was going on with Anthem. Not only did she have a severe UTI that had spread, but Anthem was also suffering from sepsis. More like, Karissa was screaming what more than likely actually happened, and I don't know this to be true, but Karissa was most likely screaming, praying over her daughter, the daughter who she refused to take to a doctor until it was almost too late, and Karissa's behavior apparently was so appalling that Mandrae told her to leave the hospital and not come back until she could be more calm. Anthem was admitted to the ICU, and she spent the next 19 days receiving treatment. It turns out that Anthem's liver enzymes and CK numbers were so high, the doctors in the ICU thought that she may need to be transported to the Children's Hospital in Dallas to receive a liver transplant. Thankfully, doctors determined that Anthem's liver would be saved as long as they could lower her CK numbers. Over the next 2+ weeks, Anthem's numbers improved, but she required numerous medical treatments, including intubation, a feeding tube, a swallow study, and physical therapy. After a long and harrowing ordeal, Anthem did recover from sepsis and was able to go home shortly after her birthday. Upon going home, she required thickened liquids, physical therapy, and she had a paralyzed vocal cord from being intubated. Somehow, I doubt Karissa followed any of these doctors' orders, but then again, the doctors didn't really do anything, right? When someone commented on one of Karissa's posts regarding Anthem's medical emergency, should suggesting that she should recognize that doctors, nurses, and medicine and machines is really what saved Anthem's life. Karissa responded, "While I appreciate the hard work of the doctors, they still don't know why it happened or how it happened to her. It was literally only God that got her through. He gets all the glory." She also added, "No one knew why Anthem got so sick, and treating that didn't maybe it better," which I think she meant make it better. Her whole body just randomly in 2 hours shut down. I can guarantee you that her body did not, quote, randomly shut down within 2 hours. She had a fever, she was struggling to keep her head up, and Karissa frequently kept Anthem in full soggy diapers. As if that isn't disturbing enough, and to no one's surprise, Karissa shared a post on Instagram where she said, "As Anthem was in the hospital last month, and as I stared at her in the ICU on a ventilator, I had come face to face with this question. As I sat here completely out of control, yet still trying to control every move, thought and breath came out of me. I had to ask myself, what if God asks me to sacrifice her?" Her meaning Anthem. And she added, "Too many people won't sacrifice for God when it's over and the battle is lost. They blame God and fall away from him. Are we willing to give up what we cherish the most, our children, in order to serve the Lord? I had to give up control in that hospital room." Really sounds like Karissa is totally on board with her daughter dying as a present to her God, but she's definitely not on board for taking care of her daughter's medical needs to prevent future UTIs. Now, there are even more details about Anthem almost dying of sepsis, including Karissa's mother stepping in to advocate for Anthem. Thank God for Karissa's mother. And one of Anthem's brothers apparently was speaking tongues over Anthem in the ICU. Karissa was screaming prayer over Anthem in the ICU, which happened in front of other parents, nurses, doctors, etc. Karissa said that she was fasting for 11 days until God told her to stop. CPS also got involved, and another Collins kid breaking their leg while both parents were at the hospital. But if we covered every single detail of this one incident, we would be here for absolute hours, like I said, and this video was already probably going to be 2 hours long. So for more information, I do heavily suggest that you head over to Fundy Snark. They do have on Reddit, they do have more details and receipts. I do understand that a lot of people do have bitch eating crackers syndrome at times, but a lot of times that specific subreddit is heavily moderated, and it's typically, from what I've seen, pretty logical over there, and honestly, usually hilarious. And the internet is forever, and that really is just an archive of this woman's awful behavior. So now might be a good time to mention that Karissa's mother is active in the lives of her grandchildren. While she does live in Kansas, she frequently does visit Karissa, Mandrae, and her grandkids. The Collins kids do seem to care deeply for their grandparents, and they genuinely look really happy when she visits. Now, Karissa's father, on the other hand, has, to our knowledge and my team's research, hasn't appeared in any photos or videos with Karissa's children, nor has she ever mentioned him online. Reddit users have speculated that he and Karissa's mother have separated, and it's also been suggested that Karissa and her father are estranged over her choice to have a Greyhound bus full of children. But we are going to pivot now. Shut up! And we need to talk about Karissa's habit of whitewashing the out of her children. So let's start here with Exhibit 1. With Exhibit A, we can see Karissa here with several of her children. Now let's compare this to the following picture. Notice anything different about that second image? Perhaps the children's skin is significantly lighter. Their eyes also appear lighter. You cannot look at these two photos and tell me that Karissa does not whitewash her children. Notice anything different about the second picture? Perhaps the children's skin being significantly lighter. Also, their eyes appear significantly lighter. You cannot look at these two pictures and tell me that Karissa does not whitewash her children. Some of you may be wondering the impact of whitewashing Black or biracial children, and my team and I have done some research. In an article titled, "What is Whitewashing and Why is it Harmful?" written by Claire Giuseppe and medically reviewed by Anju Gol, MD, the author shares how whitewashing in the media has a negative impact on people of color. She points out that the lack of representation of people of color in media can have a substantial mental impact. She continues and says, unfortunately, it lingers on due to stereotypes, media, and familial influence. Leela Magavi, MD, a psychiatrist based in California, told Health magazine, it can lead to debilitating anxiety as minority individuals feel pressured to look, speak, or present a certain way. Dr. Magavi recalled evaluating adolescents and adults who've reported feeling pressured to soften their tone or change their voice to fit in. Whitewashing can cause demoralization, exacerbate feelings of imposter syndrome, and worsen low mood and anxiety symptoms. Now, while the focus of this article was whitewashing in the media, primarily in films and television shows, the Collins children are being whitewashed by their own mother. Could you imagine what that does to their own self-image, to their internalized belief of what is beautiful? Also, in case you didn't know, Karissa is a photographer, not professionally trained, but she takes and edits pictures of her family members on a regular basis. And here's some documentation provided by an amazing, glorious, beautiful Fundy Snark Reddit user. On this Facebook page, pretty presets for Lightroom. And it says, "We're always inspired by Karissa Collins and her beautiful family. Karissa set up this beautiful family session with a tripod. Amazing! Learn more about how you can do this for you and your family from a helpful blog post Karissa wrote here. 3 self-portrait photo tips. I always use the all-in-focus action from the Pastel Dreams collection. Not sure what I would do without it. And the clean edit preset." Karissa is also quoted saying, "I used the quick clean preset, which I use on almost every photo these days, and lots of hand edits because the photo was very dark due to the light behind us." And here are a few more examples of Karissa whitewashing her children. Here is Karissa with her gaggle of children behind her, and then there is a gaggle of Caucasian children on her sweater. But don't you worry, Karissa addresses the sweater in an Instagram story and claims that she didn't get what she ordered. She also shares the original sweater that she ordered. She said, "And of course, now I'm being accused of whitewashing my kids again." Ma'am, those are Caucasian children on that sweater. And just to confirm, the company who sells the sweaters do have additional skin tones that the buyer can choose from while designing and purchasing their product. They actually have 7 different skin tones that you can choose from. Karissa knows that she has been accused of whitewashing her children, and she thinks the "what I ordered" Instagram story somehow justifies that she does not whitewash her children. Karissa may be the primary parent, but again, Mandrae is also responsible for his children, as he is also a parent, and in their conservative headship marriage, he's also extra responsible for everything that Karissa does, like whitewashing his children in photographs. Now let's share a very powerful statement that we found on Reddit under the "what I ordered versus what I got" picture. This Reddit user shared, "My parents pulled this kind of and it messed up my sense of identity. For the first 6 years or so of my life, I didn't even know what country they were from because my mom lied and swore she was European. This particularly resonates because I remember drawing self and family portraits as a tiny kid and getting scolded for using the brown/bronze crayon, not the skin colored crayon. So I would draw us as white with blue eyes and blonde hair. I can't convey the lifelong confusion that creates. I still look in the mirror and I see a face I hate because it's not white." And that absolutely is heartbreaking. Now, we are not medical professionals. We are not lawyers. We are not healthcare professionals. I can confidently say, in my opinion, I do think that Karissa is whitewashing her children and that it absolutely needs to stop. But don't worry, it gets worse. Let's skip on over to our next Collins controversy. This one is probably pretty obvious, but the Collins parents constantly exploit their children online. Karissa is constantly posting herself with her children dancing, singing, and acting, if you would like to call it that, all over social media. The Collins children, their home, their bedrooms, practically every move that they make is documented and made into a TikTok, a reel, or shared on Facebook. Karissa cannot be bothered to get up and properly educate her children or get them ready to attend an actual school, but she can dream up videos, rehearse dance moves, and lip sync to songs with all of her children. In an NPR article titled "Why You Should Think Twice Before Posting That Cute Photo of Your Kid Online," written by Andrew Limbong, the following information is shared. Oversharing can make children vulnerable to identity theft, harassment, and predators. So someone could use social media to figure out where your kid lives, go to their school, and learn their patterns and their routines. They could also learn about their likes and dislikes and use those in an insidious way. Other people don't need to have that information about the ins and outs of your child's emotional and personal life. Karissa and Mandrae Collins share vital information about every single one of their children, and we also know the layout of their house, where they typically spend their time, and all of their daily routines. We also know that Karissa sleeps late almost every single day, leaving the children alone and completely vulnerable most mornings. And this feels like a recipe for disaster. Speaking of recipes for disaster and not setting your children up for success, let's talk about education and the complete lack of education that occurs in the Collins home. Karissa and Mandrae have decided to homeschool their children, which Karissa takes the lead on. Homeschooling at the Collins house, or as it's more commonly referred to on Fundy Snart on Reddit, school of the dining room table, or simply so dirt, is absolutely abysmal. So in Karissa's own words, her children's homeschooling schedule is as follows. Normally, I wake up and spend time with God, and then start it, but with this new program. The kids just wake up and do it. They're usually done by the time I wake up. It's been so amazing. There is so much wrong with this. It's not even funny. First of all, Karissa has complained in the past that there wasn't a single program that worked for all of her kids until she found this specific one. And I highly doubt that this program is educationally sound and used in accredited schools. There's significant evidence online that her older children, as in tweens and teenagers, struggle with basic reading skills, including fluency and comprehension. It's time to go on a little bit of a side quest to take a look at that curriculum. So let's go over to gatherroundhomeschool.com, which is completely underwhelming. The Gather Round Homeschool was created by Rebecca Spooner, a homeschooling mother of 5 children. She claims that God called her to homeschool, and just like Karissa, Rebecca Spooner heard God speaking directly to her. That's not God, it's psychosis. Apparently God said to her, "What if you could homeschool all of your kids together?" Per Rebecca, she states, "I started scribbling furiously in my notebook. Units, all subjects, all grades, cohesive, engaging, challenging, curiosity-driven, collaborative learning, coffee, fun, adventures, rabbit trails, words, pictures of homeschool I always dreamed of. More than that, though, I had hope." Gather Round Homeschool was born in a flurry, developed over a month. A sample was put together, a store was opened, and it was available for pre-sale. I dove in with both feet, both hands. Girl, that's a cannonball. And my entire family, like it or not, in tow. Blind faith. That is what this curriculum was born out of. Blind faith in a wild idea that seemed impossible without the creativity of the ultimate creator. Rebecca, that does not sound like divine intervention. It sounds like a manic episode. I took a look at Rebecca Spooner's About Me section to see if she had any qualifications to write an appropriate educational curriculum for children of all ages. Turns out, unless she's hiding it, she does not. How shocking. Rebecca was homeschooled for most of her childhood and has great memories. She also attended public school for a short time, but other than those few good memories, she didn't care for it. It doesn't appear that Rebecca has a degree in education, childhood development, curriculum writing, or anything at all that would qualify her to write an entire curriculum for children of all ages, stages, and abilities. And my researcher, Kelly, would like to pop in real quick and have me read off this specific little blurb that she wanted to say to you guys. Hi, Kelly, CC's researcher, popping in real quick. Without giving too much away, I have an undergrad and graduate degree in the field of education. I've taught children from preschool to high school and used several different curricula. In my opinion, I think using a random curriculum created by a stranger on the internet is dangerous and could lead to educational neglect, which is when a parent fails to meet their child's educational need. While no curriculum is perfect, I do believe it is important that not just any curriculum is taught to any child. It should be vetted by educators, educational researchers, and people who are trained in curriculum writing. It appears that Karissa picked the easiest and all-in-one white Christian Bible-centered curriculum that she could find and just went with it. In my opinion, Kelly's opinion, and Chelsea's as well, she is setting her children up for failure on many levels. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, back to homeschooling. Karissa posts Instagram reels like this one that says, POV, our long commute to homeschool, where she's banging on a pot and they go sit at their dining room table. So cute, so quirky. This caption says, I get asked about homeschooling all the time. Today, I was doing homeschool. All 7 of my kids were quietly listening and my toddlers were playing and my baby was sleeping. I thought, whoa, I did it. My children have fully adjusted to sitting and listening to their lesson and working together to learn. Some backstory, I've tried many curriculums. I've been doing Gather Round Homeschool for a year and a half now. We were fairly new all together teaching, but it's been such a blessing. Hopefully this will be encouraging. Some quick tips from a homeschooling mom who's been doing it for 7 to 8 years. I've lost count. Probably because you can't count, just like your children won't be able to if you continue to teach them. There are pros and cons to everything. Prioritize the pros. Toxic positivity. If God leads you to do it, go all in and do it for the Lord. Don't just try it, you'll quit. Be committed. There's millions of curriculums. Don't get overwhelmed. The Lord has guided me in curriculum over the years. Stay consistent and the kids will get the routine and schedule down. You'll be tempted to quit often. Why? We have backup plans and everything these days. Stick to your calling and convictions. What does that even mean? If we're having a hard day, take a break. That's the joy of homeschooling. Don't compare yourself or your children. Move at their pace. Pray before school every day. It changes everything. Learn their interests and gifts and capitalize on them. You don't need months to plan. Just start. Figure it out together. There are free programs. The HP printer is the best for large print jobs and saving money on ink. You're their best and most trusted, safest teacher. They've learned everything from you. Be confident in the position God has given you. Don't be too hard on yourself. We all have hard days. Apologize and move forward. Give God the first of every day. Time with him is most important to you and them. Less is more. Don't hoard homeschool material. That can be so overwhelming. You just don't do any of it. Start small and build from there. If you want to add more, consistency is key. You got this. Enjoy the benefits, the sleeping in, the family time, the learning together, the flexible schedule, the field trips. And here's one last screenshot to share with you to drive home the point that Karissa does not possess the skills that really are necessary to homeschool any children, but much less her 47 children. She reshared this onto her Instagram story and it says, adults, don't forget to test for your reading level today. Don't know it? Maybe that's because it's not a real thing. I have no idea what my child's reading levels are. I just know that they enjoy reading and they can discuss and apply the content. No tests needed. A bit of a content warning here. The next controversy that we're going to go over is beyond heartbreaking, and this does involve a serious injury to a 1-year-old child. Two of Karissa's youngest children were left unsupervised in the family's kitchen. Anker, who was a 1-year-old at the time, got a hold of a pair of scissors, and he, or his 3-year-old sister, almost cut off his finger. Instead of blaming herself or taking any responsibility for leaving her toddlers alone in a kitchen with access to scissors and ovens and any other dangerous items, she allegedly blamed his 3-year-old siblings for this completely preventable accident that was obviously her fault because she is the adult. One Reddit user shared, the 3-year-old apparently closed the shears on his finger. Neither Karissa nor Mandrae was supervising them. The 1-year-old and the 3-year-old had shears because the 11-year-old left them on the kitchen table. Neither Karissa nor Mandrae had checked on them and put them away. He left them there because he used them for homeschooling. Clearly, neither parent was present during the homeschooling. He got them because he couldn't find the kids' scissors, and a parent wasn't available to ask. He had to find his own supplies for schoolwork because Karissa stays in bed until 11 a.m. and then moved to the couch. Mandrae made himself completely unavailable while in the home office. They knowingly left the children alone all morning. They never checked on them or didn't pay attention enough to notice that those were definitely not kids' scissors. Thank God, Karissa took Anker to see a doctor. I believe this was only a few months after Anker had broken his leg in another accident, which you can't see it, but we're using air quotes, and we're using air quotes because while we do understand that children indeed do have accidents, even when their parents are watching them and appropriately supervising them, there are countless photos, blog entries, and social media posts that clearly show Karissa and Mandrae ignoring their responsibilities to supervise their 11 children. For instance, I was at the park yesterday with my kid. We went to the splash pad. It was so much fun. And then he wanted to go down the slide. And so I went down with him 3 times. Then he did it twice. And I was right next to the slide holding him. And he really wanted to do it by himself. He's 14 months old, going on 37 years old. But he got too excited and he's got a real big old head. And he flung himself forward. And I was right there. And I caught him so that he didn't roll down the slide. But he did bonk his head. And he has a little bruise on his head. Kids get hurt, and that doesn't mean that you're a bad mom, and that doesn't mean that you are neglecting your child. It's inevitable. Your child is going to get hurt, especially if they're a boy. They are just an extra feralness to them. They are crazy. However, that's clearly not the case here. I'm not leaving out sharp object. I highly doubt that Karissa has anything in her house baby proof. The doctors determined that Anker had severed his tendon and required surgery. However, due to Karissa and her family pretending that the world wasn't experiencing a pandemic, they took their massive family out and about, and wouldn't you know it, they all caught the C word. Not cancer, the other C word. So when it came time for Anker's surgery, he couldn't have it because he had schmovid. In another another Reddit user's post, they said also he couldn't have surgery when he needed it because he had schmovid. Karissa wasn't in any hurry to bring him back because she was pissed at the hospital for enforcing schmovid regulations. And because, according to her, he didn't look like he was in any pain when she finally brought him in. His cut tendon was already retracting into the palm of his hand. Karissa's followers on Instagram had some hot takes, some scolding takes. And I really do think that shows how like-minded her peers are, and also how idiots follow this person. Someone commented and said, for them to test a child that is asymptomatic is beyond ridiculous. And another said, I know how sad it is to watch your baby be in so much pain. Plot twist, Karissa doesn't watch her kids. Another person said, the real question is, why are your kids constantly getting injured and you don't take them to the hospital? The only blessing from God you've received is your children even being alive. And I completely agree with that. Now let's talk about Child Protective Services. To no one's surprise, due to alleged medical and educational neglect, Child Protective Services, or CPS for short, as if you don't know, has visited the Collins family multiple times. Per Karissa's post below, CPS has opened 4 cases on her family. Karissa posted this on CPS's 4th visit. Bye, trolls. Go ahead and call CPS. They've cleared us same day 4 times. We have nothing to hide. We love God and we love our children. We even love you. We know who God created us to be and will continue walking in it. Why are they calling? Because we love God and live by the Bible. Because I hear voices, aka God. Because we don't do the V vaccine. Because my children have been healed by God with broken bones, so people assume we refuse medical care. Because I had an unassisted birth. Because I bleached their skin. Ma'am, what? Because I share my hard days, so I must have a mental illness. I mean, and on and on. There's always something to assume from everything. But let's dive deeper into that 4th call, because holy doo-doo, it's a lot. Karissa told the following story in her own words in a video on Instagram, and it is a lot to take in. So if you need to hit pause, find something that gives you comfort, chug a bottle of wine, drink responsibly, I'm just kidding. I would 10 out of 10 recommend grabbing a fuzzy blanket, a neck pillow, a heating pad, just, something, snuggling your baby. I don't know, man. Get your dog, pet your dog. This video was filmed in 2023, shortly after Karissa gave birth to Armor. And content warning, I also want to provide you with this trigger warning. Karissa does talk about postpartum depression and having thoughts that she did not exist anymore. And I always want to make it clear, I do not want to cast judgment on anyone who has postpartum depression, postpartum rage, postpartum anxiety. I went through that as well. Many of y'all sometimes could see it in my videos. It is a big struggle, and it is literally a chemical imbalance. It is. You can't help it. It's awful. Think whatever God you believe in for Zoloft, because holy crap, it's rough. So your feelings are valid. Absolutely. I do think that Karissa's are valid regarding postpartum depression as well. I also do not think that she should continue to have children if she experiences postpartum depression that horribly, amongst other reasons why I do not think that she should continue to have kids. So let's just pause right there. Does she mean to say that they ignored the UTI and they didn't want to take her to the doctor even after her neck muscles stopped working? And we talked about this earlier, but instead they let her go to sleep, brought her to a basketball game the next day, and then out to lunch. So then after she had the day that she wanted to have, you finally took her to see a doctor after your own mother was urging you to. Now, I want to know, would that infection possibly have been prevented if she would have given birth in a sterile environment, or perhaps brought the newborn to a doctor directly after he was born, like people do have to do, and if you would have gotten yourself checked out after giving birth? And what she says right here is wrong. They thought that it was a metabolic disorder, and although she went to one follow-up, she apparently didn't give them time to properly diagnosed her child because she claimed that God had healed her child. God is not a surgeon. God is not an endocrinologist. God is not an infectious disease doctor. Jesus does not work at the CDC, okay? I do wonder if Karissa followed up with doctors and the physical therapists on the torticollis, but I really don't think that she did. The doctors literally told her about the CK numbers being dangerously high the last time that she was admitted to the hospital. And I understand that when you're in the hospital, it can be overwhelming, but would you not take 2 seconds to stop filming Instagram reels to Google what are CK numbers? Like if someone says something to you and then you're like in your head, you're like, I got no idea what that means. Aren't you going to Google it? Aren't you going to figure it out instead of just going through life? I don't know what that means. Oh, well, no, this has to do with your kid. You need to know what that means. But she's just so careless. And it's insane. It's been suggested multiple times that the repeated UTIs could be due to the child's physical anatomy and could have been identified and potentially surgically fixed prior to her almost dying, not once, but twice. Trigger warning, postpartum depression. Absolutely anyone who gives birth can develop postpartum depression. Being thankful to God or to anyone cannot prevent postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, or postpartum rage. And you really don't know how your body, how your brain, how the chemicals in your brain, or just you in general, are going to react to your pregnancy, your birth, all of that. You don't know how it's going to go as much as you want it to go great or say or pray about you not getting any type of postpartum mental health hiccups. So she refused a blood transfusion. I'm not surprised, but why are you doing this when there's a simple solution to your problems? The fact that right here she says that always happens for some reason regarding her kid losing their voice. Last time it happened, it was because her child was intubated and her vocal cord was temporarily paralyzed because of it. So yeah, obviously it's probably going to happen again. And she's just like, it happens for some reason. No, not for some reason, for a very specific reason that you just are ignorant to because you're uneducated and you don't bother to ask questions because you're too busy screaming and praying to your imaginary friend in the sky. Now, I'll give Karissa some credit for going to the ER and for admitting that she was physically ill, but also that she was having terrible thoughts in regards to her ability to take care of her children that were absolutely tormenting her. I will give her credit there. That's good. This is so sad. Karissa was going to do the right thing. She wanted to check herself into a mental facility and get help, but this infuriates me. And it just shows how disgusting and unsupportive Mandrae Collins is and how much of a father and a shit husband he is. Karissa literally just had her baby. Her youngest child almost died again because she was so sick. And Mandrae had the audacity to give Karissa shit for literally wanting to take an hour break from their 10, at the time, now they have 11, children. That man is pathetic. Her friend came over and told her that she just needed to take authority. Karissa, never speak to that friend again. Also, check yourself in somewhere, please. This is truly insane. Can you imagine all of these things happening and you not calling 911 immediately? Mandrae has failed his wife and his family multiple times, but I think this time may be his absolute worst failure to date. Now, Karissa sharing all of this took a lot of courage, and I commend her for that. That's amazing, and she's very brave and strong for that. However, there are a lot of things that she shares on the internet that I'm like, hey, that probably shouldn't be on the internet. So with all that being said, similar situations have had deadly consequences. I'm not saying that Karissa would ever harm her children or herself, but it is terrifying to think that she could have such intrusive thoughts. And even though she wanted to get help, the closest people to her persuaded her to stay home and pray instead of going to a mental health facility or a hospital for treatment. That's horrifying. And I really hope that nothing ever happens like that again to her. And I really hope that she is able to get the help that she needs. I think that she still needs help. I don't think that that was necessarily just postpartum. I think that it was probably a long time accumulation of things. If Karissa was feeling better, that's wonderful. But by sharing her quote unquote testimony on a platform where she has over 1.5 million followers, it's dangerous. She essentially is telling people that they can pray away their postpartum depression. I said it once before, and I'll say it again and a billion more times. That is not how that works. For instance, it took me a bit to learn that, hey, postpartum depression and anxiety and rage is pretty common. It can vary, in different degrees for different people, but it is a chemical imbalance. That's not something that you can just go to therapy and talk about and be okay with and pray about or do self-soothing techniques or color or draw or things like that, right? That is a chemical imbalance, and some of us really do need some store-bought chemicals because we're not producing them ourselves. And that is I. Leave in the comments below, are you on Team Zoloft? Because dear God, I'm never getting off this. It's amazing. Now, this was really weird that she said this, and it seems really out of touch. Then again, I'm a white woman saying that, but it just seems weird. If you are experiencing thoughts of harming yourself or others, please call the number on screen. I will have more resources on screen right now and in the description box below. I do want to say the feelings that you're having right now are temporary. They're not going to last. Feelings of despair, everyone would be better off without you. Hate to tell you this, but you're wrong. You deserve to live. The world is a better place with you in it. You may feel empty right now. You may feel that despair. You may feel that dark cloud of gloom just consuming you, or that heavy weight on your chest and feel like you can't breathe some days. But I can confidently tell you that is a temporary feeling, and you should not let those temporary feelings cause you to make the most permanent and ultimate decision, because you deserve to be here. So if you need those resources, please do reach out to someone. After this troubling time in Karissa's life, it appears she received another visit by CPS. She claims in a post that we will show on screen that she sought help and was open, but when she told everyone her story, that she was reported to authorities, quote, by people who don't even know us. While it's possible that someone who doesn't personally know Karissa watched her testimony video and decided to report Karissa and possibly Mandrae to CPS, there's also the real possibility that a doctor, nurse, or other medical staff reported her due to her child almost dying a second time due to sepsis. That is a requirement if you are a medical professional. If you are reading over their charts, looking at their medical records, and if you do suspect a hint of neglect or abuse or something like that, you are required to call. You are required to report it. It's better to, hey, make a mistake, misread something, okay, report it, have it checked out, and then okay, if there's nothing wrong, then fine. But it's better to do that than not report it. Also, giving side eye to bus mom and bus dad, if you know who that is. Deep dive coming soon, don't worry. Just because someone reports you to CPS, that doesn't mean that CPS will automatically launch a full investigation that results in your child being taken away from you. That's absolutely not how that works. One Reddit user put this beautifully. Not getting medical attention for your kid's injuries is literally refusing medical care. Adults are free to try faith healing on themselves. That's their prerogative. But it's wrong to ignore a child's injury or illness and think praying hard enough will heal it. Children have died because of this, and parents have gotten away with it by crying persecution or abusing freedom of religion. Speaking of persecution, I feel absolutely persecuted by this next wild ride I'm about to take you on, because you know the rules. If I have to see it, you do too. I don't make these rules. Someone on the internet does, but buckle up. We're going to end this insane Mr. Toe's wild ride of the Collins controversies with one that is less dangerous than the others, but probably one of the grossest things that she has ever publicly shared, ever. So we can file this under, hey, guess what, girl? We didn't need to see this. Welcome to the mystery of poop story. Originally told in Karissa's own words via her own blog, but reworded with my researchers' own artistic flair. Close your eyes and imagine an afternoon of family fun. You, your husband, and your young children decide to jump together on the trampoline in your backyard. Everyone is having so much fun, but something is missing. Something that can take the fun to the next level. Your husband has a grand idea. He pauses, reaches for your 20-month-old, and plunges his hands into his diaper. A grin spreads across his face as his hand emerges with handfuls of poop. He throws his head back in glee as he chucks it at you and your toddlers. Pretty soon, everyone joins in on the fun and is covered in human feces. I would like to please leave in the comments below. I would like to personally thank my researcher, Kelly, for that absolute artistic gem that she reworded for us. Now that you want to vomit, here is the blog post. And it says, The Mystery of Poop, September 30th, 2011. Poop. It is the funniest word. It is the grossest thing. I feel like I need a hacky sack. Before you have children, you never really have to deal with poop. You just flush it and never think twice about poop. But once you have children, it all changes. The first few months with your newborn, you still find changing diapers and poop disgusting. But as the months go by, the more diapers you change, the older your child gets, the less disgusting poop becomes. I now have a 20-month-old baby, and she is starting to dig in her diapers and take out her poop. And so poop is becoming more common in our house. Just the other day, she was tapping my arm, and I turned around only to see that she was wiping something all over my arm to try to get it off of her hand. And of course, what was it? That's right, poo. It is hilarious to me how comfortable we have become with poop. Yesterday, Mandrae had the day off, so we were having some family time on the trampoline. Mandrae seized the opportunity to check Anissa's diaper for poo and have a poo fight on the trampoline. This would never be okay for a couple without children, but once you have children, everything goes. Now that we have been thoroughly grossed out, like I said, if I have to see it, you do too. It's all fun and games until your husband reaches into your kid's diaper and throws their shit at you. Hey, that's disgusting. That's gross. That's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. There are definitely times where, hey, my kid's thrown up on me. He's peed on me. I have, poop on my hand, or, oh my God, what's that on my elbow? Is that poop or is it chocolate? That's a fun game to play. But if my spouse ever reached into my kid's diaper, took out doo-doo and threw it at me, I'm honestly, I would be speechless. And y'all know I can't shut up. I'm never speechless. I don't know what that man would go missing. For legal purposes, that's a joke. I love my husband. I'm not going to kill him. The Collins family is truly the gift that keeps giving that no one asked for, and you really want to return it, but you don't have a gift receipt. And as we were finishing up the research, the scripts, all that for this video, Karissa and Mandrae had another child, and they were already exploiting the baby for clicks and views. Is anyone surprised? Absolutely not. Karissa also has shared a few things which I do have to mention. She was saying that this baby was smaller than all of the rest of them. And not that there's necessarily like anything wrong with that. I mean, all of my siblings were like 9 and 10 pounders. And then my mom had gestational diabetes when she was pregnant with me. And I was like hardly 7 pounds. And I'm generally normal, right? You can grow up to be a healthy human and be a small baby. It's okay. But one thing that I think is relevant is that Karissa was drinking her slim drink from the MLM that she works in, Plexus, allegedly, as she has said herself, her entire pregnancy. And another thing that I do think is insane that needs to be mentioned is that Karissa has already been called out. The baby's like not even a month old, and she's already been called out for neglect / parenting. She has posted pictures of the baby, and you can see under his armpit that he already has a, rash or like friction mark there or something. And I remember someone commenting on Reddit that they were saying that that would basically be because she has not like been cleaning him or like drying him off properly. And listen, kids get rashes, they get things like that. And especially if you are like a first time mom, or sometimes they can just, kids are gross. They get diaper rashes, they get little red marks, whatever, right? But taking into account that she's already said that she doesn't wake up until 11, and you have a newborn, that's literally not possible. And if it is possible for you, that's child neglect. Someone come get that baby, especially if your husband's working and he's not helping. So that's insane. And I just think it's ridiculous where she has 11, this is her 11th child. Girl, you should be a pro at this by now. But what I think is happening is that her older girls, her older children are taking care of this baby, and they are children. They don't know what they're doing. So they may not be like drying him properly or like maybe putting lotion or ointments on him. He is a newborn, so obviously, you do a lot more of that when they are that little, and it's very, very sad. Also, she posted a picture of him next to their reborn or unborn baby doll, whatever it's called. Weird. Why do you have that? I don't like that. Those are creepy. Some people say that they help with therapy, and okay if it does, but that's still creepy. Why do you have that? I don't like it. As I've said already, all of this is my own opinion. I'm not a medical professional. I am not saying that you should never post pictures of your kid online. I am not saying that I am high and mighty and way more ethical than this person, better than they are, a better parent than they are. I mean, arguably, I do think I'm a better parent than they are. But don't go reporting this person to CPS. I'm not promoting that behavior. Karissa, please get help. For the love of the God you believe in, please stop having children. There's no way that you can give all of these children the education that they need, the attention that they need, and the love that they need. There's 11 of them. You're one person. You're not able to do that. Also, statistically, with 11 children, I mean, one of them's got to be gay. So that's going to be unfortunate with her delusional and hateful beliefs. So in my opinion, Karissa and Mandrae are clearly not responsible parents, and they constantly spread medical misinformation and find themselves embroiled in controversy after controversy, all being preventable. It would be impossible to cover every appalling thing that they have done, but this isn't the last time that we're going to talk about them. We are going to continue to check in on them and expose their disgusting behavior and their lies and the dangerous information that she does perpetuate and promote on her social media. In future videos, we are going to cover the relationship with Shaq, additional injuries and medical diagnoses the Collins kids have received, and how God has magically healed them, and the impact that this large gaggle of children will have on the future, and much more. So if there is something else that you want us to cover in the next Collins Kids video, please leave it in the comments below. As always, when I do touch on a new subject for my channel, I always do just want to have a more of like a foundational video. If you've never heard of these people, then here you go, start here, and then we can go forward and dive into different aspects of them. But I do just want you to have a place to start, so you have a place to dip your toes in, Also, if you do have an idea for a specific specific scammer, a fundy family, an MLM, or any other topics for future deep dives, please definitely do leave them in the comments, or you can also email me too. My email is chelsea@chelseasuarez.com. Super easy for you to remember. And thank you so much for coming on this wild journey with us. It was ridiculous. Thank you to my editor. Thank you to Kelly, my researcher. She was so insanely helpful with this one. We've been working on this video for about 3 months now. My editor is out on paternity leave, so her and I have been really working hard on trying to put out great content for y'all. And now that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching and for supporting my channel. Remember that if you are subscribed, you do get a special little pep talk at the end of my videos. Your butt looks good, your feelings are valid, you are valuable, and you are doing just great. And if you're not subscribed, well, you're dead to me. If you want to be resuscitated and have me tell you that your butt looks good, go ahead and subscribe, and then that first message will apply to you. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. My Instagram did get reinstated. Thank the Lord. That is I am CC Suarez. And then my podcast as well with my co-host Sherilyn Dale is Here for the Clout podcast. That will be tagged down below as well. If you are liking our little Finding Fundies series where I discuss a lot of the craziness that Christian fundamentalist influencers getting themselves into, all the calamity that they're admitting on the internet, let me know who you would like me to stumble upon next, and we will add it to the list. Thank you again to my researcher, Kelly, for helping me with this video. She's the best. She's been working so hard, and I appreciate her so much. And I appreciate you too, and I hope that you stay spicy, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.